Hello, this is a video on how to take apart a PS4 and clean it. So to get started here, we are going to remove these first 3 screws on the bottom of the PS4 in order to get this back off. So we'll do that now. So after removing the 3 screws, this back piece should pop right off, just like so. And there it is. As you can tell, this PS4 has never been cleaned. It is pretty dirty, so this will take a while. So the first thing I'm going to do is clean this back piece. I'm just going to use some alcohol and some paper towels to get all this dust off. Alrighty, so that already looks 100% better. I might touch it up a little bit more at the end, but next we're just going to remove the bulk of this dust and stuff and get this ready. Alright, so I got most of it cleaned off of the PS4. As you can tell, it had a lot on it. It's never been cleaned before, so this will probably help it a lot. So next we're going to get this power supply out. There are 4 different screws. They got arrows pointing to them to indicate where they're at. There's that one, this one, and finally that one. So there's 5 screws that we need to remove next to get this power supply out of here. Alright, so we cleaned up a little bit and I removed all the screws. Make sure you unplug the power supply unit cable off of this. And there's 2 different screws on the sides that looks like it goes straight through the motherboard that I removed. So make sure you keep up with those 2 and you know where they go. So it's a little tricky getting it off, but once it finally pops out some, it's still connected by this wire down here, and you want to disconnect it from off the motherboard right there. And I don't think it comes off right there, so I'm going to disconnect it right there on the motherboard first. Alright, so removing that cable, you're definitely going to need some needle nose pliers because it's a very small cable. I did slightly pinch one of the one of the wires, but I think it'll be okay. I didn't pinch it too bad, but we'll just see at the end if it comes on or not. And you just pop this right off. It should just slide right off. Oh, there we go. And right here's where your hard drive's at. It's just got 1 screw right here. It's got like the PlayStation buttons on it, and you can just slide this right out once you remove that 1 screw. And then we're going to take off these 4 screws up through here. There's 1 more right here, so 5. And I think we're going to remove this screw as well to get this top part off. Alright, so I was having some trouble getting the front of it off, and it finally popped off, and then I was having trouble getting the back off. You got to make sure you remove this screw in the back, because I completely forgot. So remove that screw, and this top part should pop right off. Alright, so after you pop off this piece, might have to clean it a little as well, so I'll touch that up later. And there's a bunch of more screws into the motherboard that you have to remove. And there's these 2 right here, and there's this little cable right here that should come right out that you have to remove. And I believe that's it. So we'll go ahead and do that, and I'll come back to the next part. Alright, so I got all the screws removed, but this part's still not coming off. It looks like there's a screw that goes straight through right here, and so I'm going to have to take it apart some more on the back in order to get to that. I found the screw right down in there. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to be able to get the back of it off, get the motherboard off, just by removing that screw down there. Alright, so check this out right here. We have that is our thermal paste right there, and there's the thermal paste on the processor. There is no thermal paste on the top of that right now, so we're definitely going to put more on there. And we're just going to spray this off and use a brush and just gently brush some of these parts, because it's got a lot of dust. Even the CMOS battery's got all kinds of dust around it. So yeah, we're going to clean this up and I'll be right back. Alrighty, so we got our motherboard cleaned up pretty nicely, and took off the thermal paste with some alcohol and some Q-tips. And next, I think we are going to take off this and try to get to the heat sink. There are a couple screws down through here in the middle, and they got arrows pointing to them. We're going to remove all three of those and see if we can get to the heat sink here. Alrighty, so we got those three screws out, and you can see the heat sink on the other side of it. It's gunked up pretty good, so we're going to use some tweezers and get most of it off, and then we're just going to go over it with some alcohol and see how much we can get off. Alrighty, well, this heat sink's looking a lot cleaner now. I cleaned it straight through pretty much, and this is a weird angle. There we go. You can see straight through it now. There's no dust or anything. I cleaned both sides. It didn't clean too well right here, but I think that's just because it's stained. So, but yeah, now we'll take this fan off right here. I think there's just one screw holding it, and we'll take that off and take this fan out here. Alright, so there's this little metal brace that just comes right out when you take out the fan, and as you can tell, fan is pretty gunked up. You're just gonna want to brush this off and use a bunch of Q-tips to get between all the fan blades you can, and just get it cleaned up as best as you can. So I'll be right back after I do that. Alright, so we got most of the fan cleaned up now. I'm going to touch it up just a little bit more. I did have to use metal tweezers on it to get the gunk that has built up on it. I had to alcohol it, use tweezers, alcohol it, use tweezers, and it still didn't get it all. Like, this fan is super hard to clean because it's such a small space inside of it, and the only way you can clean the bottom and the back is just through these little gaps right here. So I'm going to get this cleaned up. I'm going to get this case cleaned up, and we're going to start putting it back together. Alrighty, so we screwed back in the fan, and we put back in this little metal clip. Next, we're going to put the heatsink back on. Alright, so after getting that piece back on, we're going to put a little bit of thermal paste onto the, if my camera will focus. We're going to put a little bit of thermal paste onto the CPU, and we're just using this Arctic. I got 2 grams right here. We're just going to put a pea size amount. We're not going to put a whole bunch on there. Alright, so I got my thermal paste on there, and I put it, slid it back in there, and I just connected that little cable. I'm going to get the rest of the pieces back on, and we'll be about done with it. Alright, so I did have to take it back apart and make sure everything was plugged in all the way. I think some things were just a little loose or something, but I've redone everything, plugged everything back up, and powered it on, and it's working. When it first booted up, it made like no fan noise at all. So I thought the fan might not be working, but I just felt in the back here, and it is working, and it's just blowing really. It's just cool air. It's not even getting that hot. And used to, when I'd start it up, it would just run like a jet engine. I'm sure once I played like a video game, it'll probably run a lot hotter, but right now the fan is really quiet, so I know cleaning it helped it a bunch with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Everything else seems to be working all right, and thank you for watching.